video, we got to roll off. And here we go. 712, the brand new dice. These are by Chessex. And I really like this clear blue one, and it is the winner. Here we go, folks.
Welcome everybody to Dungeon Master Vault's newest topic, and today we will be discussing you just picked up a book, and how in the world do I tackle this thing right here and all these rules in this book? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is do not be intimidated by all the rules and the 300 plus pages that are within that core handbook. It will all come in time, and with more play you'll become more comfortable with the rules. So with that, do the rules matter? Yes and no, they don't. Let me first explain there. As the Dungeon Master, you have the rules in your hands, so you can make a call and you were always right. Now the players on the other side have to trust in the Dungeon Master that they're making the correct decision. Now there is a key point, which we can talk about later in another topic, because that can go on for a very long time. So with that, the rules are basically going to revolve around two things mainly, and that is your abilities and your skills. With that, we'll talk about the abilities first, in the subjects of strength, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So if you are following along in your player's handbook, that will be on page 174, and I'm going to start right there. I know the player's handbook, it does start on with using the ability scores on the page before that, but I don't want to get into some other things until it all kind of makes sense right there in the forefront. You deal with these abilities at the very beginning of character creation, and it basically goes like this. Your strength is going to control all your athletic abilities. Now, when we talk about dexterity, this has to deal with like acrobatics, your sleight of hand, which is stealing things, and stealth, which is being sneaky. So when we're making other checks that has to deal with like history, investigation, arcana, nature, and religion, we're going to deal with intelligence checks in there. And these all can be used in saving throws, or even, hey, you need to make a intelligence skill check. And it basically is just off their dexterity modifier, which you cover at the very beginning in character creation. That is the plus symbol. And then we'll get into the next score, which is wisdom. And that's going to have to deal with animal handling, insight, medicine, perception, and survival. And then charisma, which has to deal with deception, intimidation, performance, and persuasion. Now, within the flow of the game, all these abilities and skill checks are going to come into play. Now, every class, whether it's a barbarian, a bard, a fighter, or a wizard, is going to have their own specialty in classes, as well as what will take place within their career, which they all pick within the very beginning of of character creation. So now, how do we really base our skill checks, right? How do I know that the thief can make a deceptive check to hide information from a guard, a blatant lie to get past the guard to get to their end goal? Well, it just depends on how savvy the guard is. Is it a basic, is it a first-time guard? Is it a veteran guard? And with that, that's going to all range on the skill level, which will range in power. First through fourth, your characters are not going to have a very good chance to make a DC 20 which is the scale of the difficulty. Now, when we get these scales of difficulty, this is explained on page 174 in your player's handbook. A very easy check is a 5. Now, what's a very easy check? Well, we could say catching a ball with a underhanded throw. That could be an ability check of a dexterity check of 5. So you would roll that 1d20, and then you would add the dexterity modifier, or in this case, if the rogue is proficient, we will use the example of a rogue here, in catching a ball, then with the acrobatics check, then they would use their acrobatic skill, which has their dexterity modifier added in there. And if, say, they have a base ability modifier of +4, and they have a proficiency bonus of +2, which is all characters at first through fourth level, sorry. So they have a +6. So you roll that 1d20, and then you add +6 to the modifier. And if they roll a 2, they catch the ball based off of the DC score. Now we go down this difficulty chart, and it says an easy check is a DC 10, a medium check is a DC 15, hard check is a DC 20, very hard check is DC 25, and nearly impossible check is a DC 30. So what in the world does all this mean? Well, within the scope of being a dungeon master, you don't want to make things near like impossible, depending on what's taking place within the game. So say you are trying to sneak past some goblins. Maybe that DC is a 15. Or maybe that check is a 10, depending on is it in the middle of the night and are the goblins occupied. Also, it's your choice to use the monster manual and go within here and find the goblin and use the goblin's perception check. That's all up to you on how difficult you want to make it. So what you basically would have two things that take place there. The ranger or rogue who is trying to sneak past the goblins would make a check, and then the goblins within the camp would make a perception check. So with that's how you would base the success or failure of the players. And this would conclude our first kind of how-to here on how the flow of the game goes from there. And then until next time, we'll explain some more information. But this basically gives your very general layout of your abilities and skill checks and kind of how they play within the game. I do ask that you follow, like, subscribe, comment down below. I would love to hear feedback on the video. Thank you very much, and until next time, Dungeon Master the Vault out.